Test.
Are you tired of the same old sports media? Are you tired of hot takes, arguments, and questions that are just completely off base?
Luckily, we have something for you. Touchdowns and Tangents. Of the people, for the people, by people who care about the culture and all its concise commentary. Whew. What's up, everybody? Cedric Byrd here, back in the studio. Pete was Pete last week. It's me again now. This is, I think, what day? This feels like week 3 of a quarantine. But honestly, it's whatever at this point. The days they just fly by. I just keep track of Thursday. That's about it. But this is Touchdowns and Tangents, your normal home for all things football, some sports related, some sports adjacent, some comedy, some slandering, some good vibes, some unnecessarily tough tangents. But most importantly, man, news, perspective, transparency, and really good chemistry between myself, Kenneth Berry, and my co-host, calling from a place that I could only assume would probably be his humble abode, Mr. Pete Camarillo.
So how am I going to talk shit to you with an intro like that?
You're not supposed to. That's the point. Like you can't. Like you literally can't. And like I didn't even say anything about you mouth breathing. How do you mouth breathe into your own phone? And I heard it, and I'm just like, fam. If I give you lead-ins like that every week, you won't appreciate it. But we'll just keep this one on record, and I'll just like play it back. I'll just play it back before every episode.
Yeah. I don't even think I'm mouth breathing, to be honest.
I don't know. Maybe
I don't appreciate these allegations.
Did you hiccup? I don't know. I don't know what you were doing here in your humble abode.
Well, because I'm trying to like pose, and like I was waiting for your setup at the same time, so who knows?
Well, it worked out. And speaking of working out, and speaking of posting, and speaking of
Aldon Smith is back, boy.
Yeah, see, you can't jump in front of me when I'm setting you up for like the Grand Slam.
I can.
I mean, like, you did good the first 30 seconds of the show. Now you're just back to the same old you. Have you learned nothing from this outbreak? But no, man, yeah. Aldon Smith, former first-round pick, former All-Pro.
1 year, $4 million, $2 guaranteed, $2 million guaranteed, $2 million non-guaranteed.
You ain't shit.
Now yet reinstated, but
him and Randy Gregory. Isn't Randy Gregory still on the team too?
I don't know, maybe.
I think they are. But man, what's?
But yeah, man, shout out to Aldon, man. I think he's like when you look at his stats, just those first 3-4 years,
first 50 games,
he was on pace to be. He was on pace to be a Hall of Famer, and you know the wheels fell off the wagon. You know, both literally and physically. I think that's like a really metaphor because obviously, you know, his sobriety has been an issue throughout that time, but apparently he's sober. He's focused on football. He's not even 30 yet. And so if you're a team like the Cowboys who, you know, just took a chance on Robert Quinn, paid off, and now Quinn's gone. Now Aldon Smith is the next, you know, boomer bust kind of candidate. You put him in the hybrid defense they run. You put him across from DeMarcus Lawrence. And you give that man a chance to do what he's been doing since forever, rush the passes. I'm excited to see it. I'm hopeful for him. I want to see him succeed. I think anybody who has ever battled any type of adversity would want to see someone like that succeed and prove that, you know, second chances are important.
Well, with that, you talk about everything he's kind of been through. I mean, you're obviously like president of his fan club. And we've seen all the guys who've done way worse than him and just been let right back in the league, and you see someone like him, who's really his own worst enemy, just constantly getting in his own way, how do you feel about, some of maybe the stigma around alcohol abuse and his self-deprecating use of narcotics or whatever, compared to guys in the league who have done worse and are apparently getting a slap on the wrist?
Well, I think there's layers to it. I mean, I think anybody who's had anyone who's dealt with any sort of addiction or anything like that, there's, it's not just a matter of the drinking. He had a couple of, domestic violence incidents. I don't think he ever got charged, but, the police were called, and, there was a time where he was, got pulled over for a DUI and,
Hold on, we actually have another caller on the call. Let's merge this and see how this goes, all right?
All right.
Hello, caller. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Nahson, and I'm...
What's good, Nahson? So, for those of you who don't know, Nahson is one of my former teammates. He's the co-host of the Let It Out podcast. Really smart dude. Really excited to have him on. So, Nahson, man, I know I told you this, but, your podcast was kind of the first podcast I listened to that, kind of really explained the COVID-19 in, a way that wasn't, a health expert just talking to me, but, somebody who clearly was researched and knew what they were talking about and just kind of opened my eyes to the whole situation. So, with that, why don't you tell people a little bit more about Let It Out and just why you've been kind of following the story a little bit for a while now.
Firstly, like I was saying, glad to be on you guys' podcast. I started listening years back. I want to say it was once y'all were first starting, it was as far back as maybe 2017 or 18. So yeah, I'm really glad and excited to be on it. We started Let It Out.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, Kenneth J. Barry, right? And B. Kenneth Radio. We started Let It Out right at the beginning of this year. Our first episode was during mid-January or so. Myself and my friend Sam, one of my friends from way back during grade school and stuff, through middle school and so on. We decided to podcast. We wanted to bring current events and news and stuff to people. And we were talking about COVID-19 right as it was first starting. Our first episode with a COVID-19 topic was during late January. So we were talking about it as soon as it was first getting publicized and part of the news and stuff. And it's exploded. I was expecting it to be less, but it just kept progressing and and it's been our biggest news story for an entire month or so. It's been the only news story, the only popular news story. So it's been
I know, man. So how do you feel how has your quarantine been? How do you feel with no sports, stuff like that?
All right, so
no pop culture,
sports wise, true. Sports wise, at least, I kind of just watched old highlights. I started to watch the NFL Game Pass. I watched some Rams games. I'm a Rams fan. The Rams were my favorite team growing up, so it was really cool seeing them come back to LA. But I watched NFL Game Pass from games from back as far as 2011, watching old sports stuff, NBA League Pass and stuff. Watched some of the Rose Bowl with Vince Young and Reggie Bush. And all of them. So I was just watching old sports.
Don't get this man.
Vince Young's knee was down in the first quarter. There's a conspiracy to make sure USC football didn't win that title game, and I don't care what anyone says. If USC wins that game, there's no Texas, there's no Nick Saban, there's no SEC dominance. But whatever. That
I guess so.
boils my blood.
Yeah, the greatest college football game of my lifetime, at least. The greatest one I watched.
For sure cried, like, after that game. Mostly because I knew it was the best game I've ever seen, and that was Keith Jackson's last game broadcasting.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, Keith Jackson, yeah, really great. But, COVID-19 been really impactful on sports. It completely shut the sports world down, like during mid-March, like March 11th was Rudy Gobert's positive test, basically the beginning of COVID-19 just closing sports down. I mean, like right after Rudy Gobert was tested positive, like the NBA shut down the day after all the games were canceled, and like all sports were like postponed and stuff. And it was really big. It was surprising to see. Like, I mean, like, it made sense. I mean, it makes sense to keep people safe because compacting so many people is dangerous to the general public. Like, I mean, New York's been the outbreak site of the U.S., and people going into stadiums and being so compact is basically the same as them being in New York. It would basically be putting them in the same situation people are dealing with in the worst spot. So I felt like it was really smart for the sports leagues to cancel or postpone games and so on. And it all led to like quarantining and so on. I feel like it's been good. I feel like it's
so. Let me ask you
this. But yeah.
You know, recently there's been, even on the grassroots level, you know, basically the whole spring sports basically canceled. You know, you got the NCAA kind of extending people's eligibility and stuff like that. And so, like, you know, considering you and I, you know, played together, you played for a while, what do you think that impact is of, like, essentially not having any high school sports? Like, what do you think that does to a high schooler right now? Like,
interesting. All right. So taking sports out of like the community and out of like youth programs is really, I mean, it's devastating to some extent. I mean, sports teach people team building skills, camaraderie, ways to deal with tough situations and so on. I mean, like, quick thinking, it causes people to be friends. It keeps people from doing like plenty of stuff they should stay out of. I mean, like the big one, like I was just saying, a lot of people say like, oh, well, sports keep people from messing up with their lives or like doing bad stuff. But I mean, even for people just like in good situations and stuff, like, it's good to feel like you're part of a team. I feel like being part of a team, especially for physical fitness, like sports usually promote, is actually one of the best things for young people. I feel like people ought to stay active while they're young just to keep it going, to keep it perpetuating and stuff. So I feel like sports in general is really important for people growing up. It's one of the foundations of like my youth, and I feel like it's a good foundation for plenty of people in their youth. So, yeah.
And what do you think? Like, what do you think? Like, for you, like, how does that play into your foundation? Like, how do you think that made you into who you are? Like, what do you take away from that youth experience? You know, playing sports. So.
Yeah, well, my youth experience playing sports started out pretty young. I believe I was 6 when I first played baseball, but I didn't play baseball for very long. But
me neither.
Yeah. It definitely gave me some sort of like track mind. So like sports helped me compartmentalize certain aspects of life and made me set like schedules to make sure I was getting stuff done just to play sports. Like during high school, I also wrestled, and I was struggling with school some, like with one of my grades and stuff. And to continue to play sports, I made sure I was keeping my grades above like the minimum level just to like get the cushion to feel comfortable. Like, because like I mean, with plenty of schools, GPA requirements are made to even play sports. So if someone enjoys sports, the motivation to excel at school is also